Good day, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel and Facebook group, Canadian Music in the 80s and 90s A. Don't forget the A part. Uh, it's my privilege to welcome one of my favorite YouTube channels, Scott on Tape. Thanks for joining me, Scott.
No problem, man. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for having me, man.
Oh, no problem. I've been very excited to do this. I've really been a fan of your YouTube channel, and I think it's what made me decide to try and do something too.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. I love when I hear that. I love when I hear that. I'll just give right off the top, I'll give you advice. Don't stop. You got to keep going. Whatever, even you know what I mean? Like you got to keep uploading, you got to keep going, you got to tag the video properly, fill out the description. It's a lot of work, but if you keep going and you love what you do, you'll have success.
well, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it for fun. I don't get paid, but I'm having a lot of fun
You
doing it.
might you might start getting paid.
I
You never
I'm
know.
just I can't believe who's already agreed to speak to me like already. I've gone beyond what I thought I would do, and I just figure, hey, you don't know unless you ask.
Yep.
All you can
Yeah.
If you ask, they
I,
might say yes.
I told I did a podcast last week, and I said the same thing to the gentleman who interviewed me, and I said he wanted to get a couple of really huge people, and I said, go for it, and then I said, if you can't get them, go for someone connected to them via this, then you never know, and that could lead to it. And I said, and lots of people to do interviews via Zoom and stuff like that. They don't have to leave their house or whatever. You never know who you're going to get. I saw your list. I mean, Mike Bullard, like, Canadian comedy legend, Gordon Depp from the Spoons. I was like, oh, geez,
Yeah, yeah.
lots of
It's
people remember.
I have to do most of my stuff on Zoom call as I live in PEI and not a lot of people come here. But
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're on an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Let's be honest. You're near where you're closer to the Titanic than I mean, PEI, let's be honest. I love Canada, as you probably can tell by my channel, even though I don't do a lot of Canadian stuff, but I'm very proud Canadian. But I mean, yeah, PEI. You're not getting you know,
no. Well, if
uh
you ever come here, you better get a hold of me.
oh, for sure. I don't know anybody else. Of course I'll get a hold of you. What's PEI? I've never been, but somewhere I've always loved. I would love to go. It looks so beautiful. And yeah, I mean, do bands even play PEI other than Canadian bands? Do you guys get any big American bands coming there?
Well, we have a big festival in Cavendish every year. It's a country festival, but we had, I guess, Luke Combs is a pretty big artist. He was here last year. Chris Stapleton's coming this year.
Oh,
There's
that's
another
cool.
festival.
Yeah.
Mumford and Sons are coming here.
Oh, wow.
They're pretty
They
big.
sound like PEI. Like when you
Yeah.
think about their sound, I could see that perfectly for PEI. And I guess probably the whole a lot of the province goes, right? Like, I mean, it must be just sold out
Oh,
completely.
it's from other provinces in the Maritimes too. Like people will come over from New
Right.
Brunswick and Nova Scotia and stuff like that. So yeah, you get quite a big crowd. People book it like months in advance to get the camping and get
Yeah.
hotels around here. It gets pretty busy. I don't know if you can see back here. Sarah Harmer was here. Do you remember her?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, she was here last summer. So was Matthew Good. Again, they're big Canadian bands, which is what I
Yeah.
am a big fan of. But
Yeah. Oh yeah, Matthew Good was great. See, I would love to do like because my channel is based around pop culture. I would love for it to get even bigger where I could say, okay, now I'm gonna go explore and just show you Prince Edward Island in Nova Scotia
right.
without having to think about the pop culture aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the pop culture aspect, not too much in PEI, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, but I would love to get the chance to where the views would come where whatever I do. Unfortunately, I don't think right now they would be because I don't know. You don't see enough of that part of our country, and it's so beautiful, and it's overlooked. But when it comes to pop culture, I don't have much I can do there, so I have to
Well, there's a
wait.
few things you might be interested in. I mean, Nova Scotia, Anne Murray's from Nova Scotia, and she's got a museum there.
Yeah.
The Anne Murray Museum's there. She's pretty big. She's a big international name too.
Oh, she's certainly. Oh yeah, she's certainly big. She's certainly big. I need like 20 topics to go out to the Maritimes. I can't even think of.
Um,
Well, well, we'll talk. Maybe you can.
I mean, I know you touch on the celebrity graves quite a bit. Lucy Maud Montgomery's buried here. She wrote Anne of
Yeah,
Green
her house is
Gables.
not too far from here.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
she
of
wrote
course.
Anne of
Yeah, I
Green
did. I did.
Gables.
Yeah.
So that'd be
I
something.
did the location for that series. Yeah.
So that might be something to consider if it's something that interests
Yeah,
you.
for sure. Yeah, Lucy Montgomery. Yeah. People, I mean, Anna Green Gables has a following all over the world.
Oh, for sure. Like, I mean,
Oh,
people come and film stuff at Green Gables house every summer. Like,
right.
it's
Yeah, right.
unbelievable the international following that tourist attraction
Yeah.
has. I think it's the biggest tourist attraction on the island, one of the biggest for sure.
Well, it's like we were talking about Degrassi earlier off camera. Like Degrassi has a huge
Hmm.
following. The old Degrassi and the next generation has a huge following all over the world. We
Well,
take it for granted here in Canada.
I
You
guess a guy
know,
like Kevin Smith had a lot to do with that too, because he was not shy about his being a big fan of the show too.
yeah,
Um,
I think that helped. But I think before that, Degrassi was airing on MTV because MTV
oh really?
started airing. Yeah, so it was that's how he discovered it. I think that's
Okay.
how he discovered it.
I think it
I'm
was
not
on
sure, but I mean, of
PBS
course,
too. Might have been on PBS too. I think it was for a little
maybe
bit.
I know
Yeah.
MTV either aired the next generation or the first one, but he wanted Stacey Mistician, who played Caitlin. He wanted her as the lead in Mallrats.
Oh really? I didn't know
Yeah, he
that.
wanted. Yeah, and then the studio was like, "Who?" And so then
Yeah.
he got Shannon Doherty from 90210.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was Degrassi fan.
Oh, I did not know that she was asked to do that. That would have been an interesting movie if she was in it rather than, but I guess Shannon
Yeah,
Doherty
I
brought a
mean,
lot of,
it would have been that we were. I was just talking about that movie with a friend the other day. Um, uh, he's like, "What do you think of Mallrats?" And I said, "You know, and I liked it at the time, not as much as I liked Clerks." I said, "But Jason Lee," he
mhm.
goes, he makes the movie, and I'm like, he really does. He was. You never saw
Yeah.
him before in anything. He was a revelation. Like the way his
Yeah.
delivery was so different than everybody else's.
Right.
And so I hope they do a sequel. I did a video with Jason Mewes, who plays Jay.
That's right too. Yeah.
I did an interview with him in a park in Hollywood last year. I can't remember when last year, like either November or May. I can't remember, but that was interesting. Cool dude.
Well, I saw Kevin do a Q&A at Roy Thompson Hall in Toronto years ago, and Jason Mewes was there, and I think he was in town shooting some of the new Degrassi episodes at the
Oh,
time.
probably. Yeah, that makes sense.
And I've also saw he's coming back to Canada. He's coming to Brantford in June.
Who, Jason?
No, Kevin Smith.
Oh, Kevin Smith. Oh, wow. Oh, he
Yeah,
loves
he's
Brantford. He loves Wayne Gretzky, right? So,
yeah. So he's doing something at the theater there in Brantford, I think, in early June. So he doesn't. He
yeah.
seems to like Canada, like you said. So it's good to
Yeah,
see
he
him.
went he went on a tour of he got the tour of Wayne Gretzky's childhood home, 34 or 43 Variety Drive, whatever the address is, Variety in Brantford. So he got to go in the basement where all of Wayne Gretzky's stuff is that Walter kept for so long. And that
Oh
was
yeah,
a
because he
dream of
knew
mine.
Walter, didn't he?
That, that was a dream of
Yeah.
mine since I was a kid. Since I was
Yeah.
a kid, that's all I wanted to do is go into Wayne Gretzky's house and see all the stuff. And now I don't know how that because Walter has passed,
Right.
obviously. But before that, he was sick for so long, I wouldn't even know. And so I don't know. I know the Gretzky family still owns a home, but I don't think they're giving out tours. They
No,
should.
not the way Walter would.
They should,
Just
they should- no, they should turn the house, keep it as it is, put everything behind glass, turn it into a museum. What do you do? That's Wayne
yeah.
Gretzky's home. You can't just get rid of everything inside. Like Wayne takes it, puts it in storage or gives it Hog of Fame and then sell the
Right.
house. No, 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 no. That house is like, it's more famous in Canada than
Yeah.
I don't know what house. I can't even think of a more famous house.
Maybe 24 Sussex. I don't know. It's
Yeah. No,
only the
Wayne Gretzky.
Prime Minister's house. That's all.
Yeah, big deal. Big deal. Wayne Gretzky. If Wayne Gretzky ran for prime minister, he'd win.
He probably would, without a doubt.
He
Yeah,
probably would.
actually Brantford's quite a hotbed for international fame as well. There, well, I mean Gretzky. There's a Gretzky Sports and Community Center there, which is quite impressive.
Yep. Yep. I
But if
filmed
you've
it.
ever have you gone down by the water? There's this huge down by downtown. There's this little parkette. It's got a bunch of these glass plaques of all the famous people from Brantford
Mm-hmm.
with Gretzky.
You didn't, you didn't watch my Phil Hartman video.
Oh yes, I did. I just don't remember that you went there, but I remember seeing Phil
I'm
Hartman's
jumping.
picture.
Yeah, because I went to Phil Hartman's childhood home, and then I went to find the
That's right.
plaque downtown. That was very cool. I think I went to uh somewhere else having to maybe a school. I know I would have done three things because I
Okay.
drove all the way out to Brantford from Toronto. So I did his. I must have done his school too. But I remember at the time when I did that, that was so long ago. I was a little not nervous because I'm never nervous, but I was a little like apprehensive about filming someone's private home, you
Yeah.
know. And now I'm not at all ever. I'm just like, get out of the car, let's get to work, because it's I got to
Yeah.
do it. But back then I was just like, somebody just came out of the house. Maybe I'll wait till they like, what's that big deal? Like,
Yeah.
it's a house. It's just a house. Nobody's. It's if the address is online, there's no. What are you gonna do?
And I'm sure you're not the only one that's ever taken a drive by there out of curiosity.
Right, of course, and like to get out and show it. I mean, most people are when I do my true crime stuff, I'm a little more stealth and whatever. But if it's a
Right.
famous person, most people are more than happy. If it's a filming location or a famous person's house, most people are like really proud of the fact they live in a famous house or
Yeah.
whatever. I've never had a bad encounter, so and I'm respectful. I don't trample on the lawn or I
I've
don't give
noticed
the
that
address.
too, and it's very
Oh
good that
yeah.
you are like that.
Even in Canada, I mean, I don't trespass anywhere, but
No.
in Canada, if we trespass, what are they going to do? They're going to chase us on a horse? Like, come on, I'm going to
Yeah.
get out of there.
Yeah.
But I'm still, if it's a private home or respectful, I'm like, no, I don't cross. I'm not going to even step on the lawn to get a better shot. I'm not.
No.
No, 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 no. That's somebody's private lawn, but I'm going to film the hell out of the house.
Yeah.
Every angle I can get, but I'm not gonna. I
Sure.
would never disrupt somebody's. And if they came out and asked and said, please, like, what are you doing here, I'd be like, oh, just filming the house. Okay, bud.
Yeah.
And so then I'll tell them why, and I'm sure they'd be cool.
Speaking of your true crime, I just wanted to get off subject a little bit. Even my wife and I, we really thought you did a very good job on the Paul Bernardo, Carlo Homolka videos you did. Like, I'm totally, I can't believe how good of a job you did on that. You were very respectful to everything. And I thought it was very informative, and you did a class number one job on those videos.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. Those took. I mean, I think that was during COVID. That was 2020. So I was stuck in Canada for a while, and then as COVID went on, my channel actually blew up a little bit because more people were home and just I have just more people watching YouTube. So I was like, oh, now maybe I can start thinking about doing some Canadian stuff. And Paul Bernardo for True Crime was number one on my list, but it's such a
Sure.
huge, if somebody comes to Toronto, like a true crime person and wants to do Paul Bernardo, they're not gonna find as many locations as I found because as you who grew up in the GTA,
Hmm.
myself, we know those locations like nobody else. And we,
Yeah.
and then and like you know, somebody who knows somebody that will know either
Yeah.
the Bernardo or the Mochas or the French or the Mahafis. And, there's so many different connections to the case. And when this house that I'm in, I had to have it renovated for a year, and it started during COVID. So I was living right down in the whatchamacallit, the Guildwood district,
Okay.
living right around the corner from Paul Bernardo's childhood home. And that to me,
Mm.
all signs were like, yeah, time to tackle this Bernardo thing because I knew I couldn't do it in one video because it's just so much, and
Right.
I didn't want to stand there and say so he was born in this house, he was born in here in Toronto, he was known as a Scarborough rapist, and then he went to St. Catharines. I want to show every step of the way, and
Right.
I mean his public school, his high school, where he committed his first assaults, and of course his childhood home. There was so much, and I just really it took me about a week to film it all because I had nothing but time because we
Right.
all did so I had nothing
Right.
but time, and finding the hotel where he first met Carla Homolka was so difficult.
Yeah.
uh and then I found it, and then otherwise, most things, I had a friend who in university, he interned at what's it called? The Center for Forensic Sciences, CFS, with Pam Newell, who was the expert witness in
Right.
for the DNA in the case. And so I was like, dude, he's like one of my best friends. So I remember calling him. I was like, dude, what building exactly were the bodies
Yeah.
taken? Where was that analysis done? He told me everything. So, got some help, and yeah, I'm proud of those videos too. I think sometimes about putting it all together into 1 hour long video and just re-releasing it, you know.
It's a great idea. It's also like you said, I don't know what your age is. I know how old I am, but I remember being so close to that because and being old enough to remember it in the news every day, and just it was such a big story.
It was on the cover of it was on the cover of I mean, besides be on on Global and CTV and CBC every day, there was the lead
Yeah,
story. It was on the cover of the Toronto Sun, Toronto Star, Globe and Mail. I don't remember about the National Post, but I remember the three major Toronto newspapers every day. Once the two girls, once Kristen French went missing, that's when it became. Scarborough rapist was one thing. It was
yeah,
a good year of coverage, and then it kind of went away. And then all of a sudden, one girl disappears. Leslie Mahaffey sadly did not get a lot of press coverage,
yeah,
but once Kristen French disappeared in
yeah.
St. Catharines, not too far from Burton, it became this huge thing, and the manhunt was on.
Right.
And even I remember back then being younger and thinking, he's going to actually, whoever did this is actually going to get caught. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I had nothing but faith that whoever, but I don't think any of us knew that he was going to be also the guy that was the Scarborough
Yeah.
rapist.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's the most insane thing ever when you think about it.
And then you hear the story about Carla. Like it was just
I
like
mean,
my
she's all
wife.
video.
My wife is a vet tech, and there's rules
Oh, really?
that she has to abide by when it comes to the prescription drugs that they use on animals. That it's because of her,
Right. I
because of
bet
what
that's
she
crazy.
did. So
Halogen and the other one, the other two drugs. It was halogen, right? It was halogen
yeah, I
and
think that was one of them. I don't know if it
started with an
was.
H. Both started with an H. I can't remember the other
Uh,
drug, but yeah, I went to that vet clinic. That was crazy, whatever it's called.
yeah,
I remember getting there just as the sun was setting, and yeah. So your wife knows. I
yeah,
mean, Carla Homolka's. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. I found her house in a certain province, and I know where she's living. And when I was out that way, I was like, should I do a video? Like, put it right on YouTube. Like, this is the house of, I was like, the only thing that stopped me, to be honest, because I don't understand why she's not harassed every day.
right,
You know what I mean? Like, it seems like because we're like, it's mind blowing me that she's not harassed every day, but which is fine. But the only thing that stopped me is like, there's two children or three,
right,
I forget, and they're innocent. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah,
Oh, that's the only thing that stopped me from putting her on blast and putting her home on my channel and doing the true crime. Like, here's where the home of, here's where to say, just because I don't want to get involved with that because of the kids. I can't do that.
sure.
There are three, whatever, innocent kids that have nothing to do with it. You
Right.
know,
The only thing that ever bothered me about that, and then this is just my rant, I guess. I saw a news story about how she's obviously going by a different name. But
yeah,
she was allowed to chaperone a kid's school trip. Like that kind of bothered me a bit because especially, I mean, I had a friend and we went to go volunteer at the World Junior Hockey Championships a few years ago, and they wouldn't let him because he had a shoplifting record when he was 15 years old. So he wasn't allowed to volunteer at
God.
the hockey tournament. Yet she's allowed to chaperone kids and a school trip with the record she's got. Like, I don't get that. Like, I don't know. I just,
But didn't that's ridiculous. Didn't the parents of that school that she did the chaperone, didn't they freak out afterwards when they found out?
I don't know how they didn't know. Like, I would assume if you're going to do
Well,
something
yeah,
like
you
that,
know,
you'd have to fill out some kind of police.
yeah, but I think that I think I don't know, man. I don't know how she gets. I think maybe her kids have probably changed schools a few times. Maybe
You'd
I don't
think,
know.
yeah,
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 maybe that's what. I mean, they must be old enough now to know. They either she's told them or somebody's told them. I mean, how would or they've unless they're into true crime and they Google and they're like, hey, that looks like my mom. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Otherwise, somebody would tell them or her their parents.
yeah,
But can't. when it comes to someone like that, I'm just like, story's somewhat closed. He's never getting out.
Yeah.
He's never
Yeah.
getting out. That's for sure. She's living whatever her best life, and that's not fair to the family of the Mahaffey family, the French family, and to the
Right.
Mocha family who lost a daughter.
Yeah.
It's not fair. But what do you do? I mean, what for me, I'm just like, well, she's got kids now, so you can't.
Yeah.
I just have a soft spot for something like that. I'm just like, I don't want to disturb any kid's life. You know what I
No.
mean? But maybe when all three kids turn 18, I'll go back to the house and say this is her house. You
Yeah.
know,
I'm sure
after
they will.
18, you know,
Yeah, I'm sure they'll find out
kids,
about it somehow.
yeah. So she's living her best life right now, and there's three victims, and how many women went permanently scarred from being assaulted by him here in Toronto? What a
Yeah,
dirtbag!
for
What a
sure.
scum! I
Anyway,
despise.
this is all on Scott's YouTube channel, and if anyone hasn't seen it, I highly recommend you do because I love what you do. It's amazing
Thank you.
stuff you do, and you also I also like the way you approach stuff with humor. Uh,
Approach what?
with humor, like some of the stuff you do, you
Oh
really
yeah,
have a good sense of humor about stuff, and
thank you.
anyway, I want to get back onto the music thing. The one thing I really wanted to ask you about was I remember the video you did going out to Vancouver to the recording studio, which was known as Little Mountain Sound. And
Yeah.
it was quite the hotbed for music, period, I think in the late 80s and
Sure.
early 90s. I mean, you talked about Aerosmith, Motley Crue, the Cult recorded there, but it was also the hotbed for a lot of, and Bon Jovi, but a lot of Canadian bands were recording there
Exactly.
before that, because they heard about the
Right.
hot producers like Bob Rock and Bruce Fairbairn, but all those Canadian bands that got big got their start there, like Bryan Adams, Loverboy. Uh, I mean, Bob Rock was in the Payolas, which was a big Canadian band, and I guess the
There's a,
Americans.
there's a, is there a mural on the side of the building? Did I show that in the video,
I think you did, yeah. I
or
know
did I
you went
see it
around.
gone and
You went around most of the building.
back? I
Yeah,
went on back, and it's maybe I where the mural used to be, or
yeah,
this is, or maybe the mural there. I can't remember. I'd have to watch the video again. It's been three years since I did it. Maybe 3 years, two and a half, even more. I don't know. But I remember it was raining that day for sure, and I remember walking around the back of it, and because it's just this building in the right in a suburban area,
right,
not too far from downtown Vancouver. It's just like very. You would never think it's a recording studio inside. Not at
right.
all. It looks like a warehouse in Scarborough. But I remember walking around back and thinking, my God, if this back wall and these picnic tables over here, that looked pretty old or whatever they were, could talk, like, Motley Crue, Bryan Adams all hanging out there, smoking, drinking, whatever in between, okay,
Yeah.
Tom, you're up. We need a drum fill. Let's go. All right. It was just crazy.
Well, that's the one thing I heard too. I saw a couple of YouTube interviews with Mike Reno of Loverboy and Bryan Adams guitar player Keith Scott, and they were talking about how, they'd be working in those studios, and all of a sudden Aerosmith would be recording down the hall, and they'd be like, "Hey, you guys want to come down do some backing vocals on something?"
That's crazy.
So, like,
That's crazy.
if you hear Motley Crue, the same thing when they were doing Doctor Feelgood up there, you know,
The
you
cult
can hear
is the
Bryan
song.
Adams' voice on a couple of those songs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like he did
Oh, wow.
background on some of those songs, so did Steven Tyler. Like they were all up there recording at about the same time. And it's
Yeah,
just,
the cult did Sonic Temple there, I think, right?
yeah, I think Bob Rock
Was that
produced that as well.
yeah, Bob Rock did, and the Sonic Temple there, and then Aerosmith, was it Get a Grip or Pump?
I think it was
It
Pump.
was Get
They might have done
was
Get
it
a
Pump
Grip too, but I don't know. I know Pump for sure. And that was with
for sure. Yeah, I think
Bruce Fairbairn produced that. He also produced the Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet album, which totally broke them into
it's
a
crazy
level
how
of fame.
they're in. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of these bands back then, how easy it would have been if you knew they were there. Like, there's no to
Yeah,
go in and out the front door or the back door. Like, or the side door. There's like it's just a tiny corner building. You could just talk and hang out with them all day if you wanted back then, probably.
yeah,
Even today, you were to find out where a band's recording in a studio, because I've gone to quite a few music studios now, and there's literally there's like a back entrance usually for bringing in large equipment, and then there's a front
Yeah,
door. Like there's nothing, there's no like security and all this stuff.
yeah,
Like bands just go in. You can meet anybody you want, really, if you know where they are at the time.
right. Have you been to Metalworks in Mississauga?
I've never been to Metalworks, no.
I think that'd be one you might be interested in. Triumph or owns that or own that, and
Triumph?
it's Triumph, the rock band Triumph.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and it's not just a recording studio, it's like a school for people to learn that industry. Like
Wow.
they learn how to, recording studio technology. They also do concert lighting and sound. There's like a
Oh,
school
that's
to do
cool.
that too. Like because that's something Triumph actually did a lot themselves back in the day. They had their own lighting company and sound company for doing concerts. So they saved a lot of money by using their own company to do their
Of
stuff.
course.
And so that it's quite an amazing building, and you wouldn't believe where it is. It's right in the middle of Mississauga. Um,
Yeah, I'll have to check. I'll look into that about going there. There's one. There was a recording studio. I can't remember the name. It was on Eastern Avenue here in Toronto. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I think so. Was it the one they recorded Tears Are Not Enough in? Is
Could
that this?
be.
It could it be that one?
Is that
Because
what you said?
that's something I'd really like to do a video about is the recording of that Tears Are Not Enough.
Well, yeah,
Um,
but my biggest one of my biggest things I want to do is I want to go to where the Band Aid did Do They Know It's Christmas?
oh, and where they did We Are the World too, maybe too.
Oh, we are the world's in LA, but
Yeah,
Do They Know It's Christmas is England.
yeah,
So a building, I believe, I know the building's no longer recording studio. It was a huge thing. They auctioned off all the stuff, and I was like, my God, I would love it. But I believe it's now turned something else. But you still go in the same room, but they don't look at all. They're made up to
yeah,
whatever business is there. But across the street, you can still match up like when they're all like George Michael, Duran Duran,
yeah,
Bono, they're all
right,
walking in, and
right,
that they're all their hair is crazy because they're all flying in from different places that they get there at 8 in the
sure,
morning, and you can still match up the building. So I've always wanted to go there and go in there. I think that'd be awesome because that was the one that started it all, right? Do They Know It's
right. That
Christmas
was the first
came
one. Yeah,
before, yeah, came before We Are the World and Tears Are Not Enough, and so Do They Know of all those benefit songs, Do They Know It's Christmas my favorite, and Tears Are Not Enough is second for sure.
yeah, because that was quite an assembly of Canadian talent at the time too
Ah,
to do that one too. Like I mean, rest in peace, Gordon Lightfoot was on that.
right.
Um, Brian Adams obviously co-wrote it with David Foster, who's like the biggest music producer I think Canada's ever produced. You could argue
Has
that,
ever
but
produced even, yeah.
like for sure. And then it had Geddy Lee from Rush was in that. And there was even some French singers too that were because Canada's music industry in Quebec is a whole separate entity of its own.
Right.
And it's huge because I mean even Much Music had a French division, Music Plus, which was just as big as Much Music in Quebec. So
Did
it's
you
just
know that David Foster wrote St. Elmo's Fire, Man in Motion? You know that song?
oh
He
the
wrote
John Parr song, yeah, for the
our
movie.
part song, but they wrote it for Rick Hansen.
Yeah, the wheelchair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I shook Rick Hanson's hand. He wheelchaired by my house during
Oh,
that,
that's
and I'll
crazy.
never forget that. Yeah.
So they wrote it for him, and then like something like they thought it would sound good for the movie. I guess they had it. They wrote for it, so they just added in the St. Elmo's Fire part. I think at the last minute because Man
Yeah.
in Motion was Rick Hansen's theme. Like he was the Man in Motion. So
Yeah.
that's written about something completely. I just did a St. Elmo's Fire video like 2 weeks ago. I put it up, and so I listened to the song over and over again just to get in the mood to edit it. And I was like, then I read about it. I was like, man, I had no idea. This whole time I thought it was written for the movie, but it was written for one of our heroes, one of our Canadian heroes.
Yeah. And what was I gonna ask? You did some John Candy videos as well, didn't you?
Oh, I've done a ton.
Yeah. You went
I
to
mean,
where did he live? Did he live in Newmarket?
I have not done his Newmarket home yet, but
Oh,
I do
okay.
know it's I believe the people that live there are renting it, so it's a matter of and he did a special, like a 1 hour special for like I think for CBC. They came up and interviewed him there, so you see him
Oh, okay.
walking around the whole property, and that's really cool. I went to his childhood home, which is down just
Okay.
near O'Connor, like near the Danforth, down here in Toronto.
Right.
Went to his former offices, which are right well, Don Land's theaters on Don Land's and O'Connor. And then I went to the SCTV house where they all lived. Like
Okay.
Mark Short lived there, Eugene Levy, John Candy lived there.
Dave
That was, and I
Thomas,
got
all
to
those guys.
go inside, which was crazy. And I think I showed SC Second City, but then I've been to oh no, I didn't. I've been to his grave many times. John Candy to me is like I love the man. You know, I have the picture of me on Instagram with him. I got to meet him, and that was incredible.
Yeah.
And I I don't think I ever did his house in LA because I know where his house is, but
Yeah.
I think his wife still lives there.
Oh, okay.
I- And
His kids
you
are
know, she's
growing
gonna
up now, though,
be
aren't they? His kids would be
oh yeah,
grown
the
up
kids
by
are grown.
now.
Oh yeah, they both work in the industry. Chris Candy and Jen Candy. They're both you
Yeah.
know, trying to make their way. So I don't think I ever
Right.
did his house because I was like, I think it's in a nice part of Hollywood, LA, and I was just like, she's probably an older lady living by herself there, you
Yeah.
know. But nobody would bother her, I don't think. I mean, but what's her name?
I don't
Uh
remember.
Rosemary
Rose.
Rose.
Okay.
That's his beloved wife. Yeah. So I probably do. Maybe I'll go there one day and do a video because I never get tired of doing anything about John Candy. I've done planes, trains, and automobiles, filming locations, like
That's
all
right.
of them. They are.
You found the train, didn't you?
I found the train from the.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I didn't find it myself. Like I mean, somebody else found it. I knew about it, but I was the first one to go to it and actually take the guy who worked there for like 30 years. This old dude, he came out with me, older dude, I should say, but he was, you know, an elderly man. He'd been there for years, and we had to walk up and down the trains for a little while to find me because there was a couple of them
Yeah.
that looked like it. And finally, I found the right one, and it is way across the street from the other one, like buried in grass. And I was like, I'm gonna get every sort of disease. I'm gonna get ticks. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
hepatitis for touching it. It was all rusty and glass. But once I got up close to it, and everybody's like, "Why don't you go inside? Why don't you go inside?" I'm like, do you understand? Like, this is the middle of New York State in dead summer
Right.
with grass growing up the side of it, the size of the thing, with broken glass and rust every entrance. I'm not dying to do. I'm not going to get myself killed just so you can see inside of a train. I'm showing you the outside is more than enough.
Right.
Like there's rusty nails everywhere sticking out. Like it's abandoned. It's an abandoned train. Like, I
Yeah.
was just like, nope. I was looking at one window and I was like, yeah, I could get through there. And then I was like, why? Like I'll get as close. I got as close as I could. I was kind of hanging off of it at one point, showing. I think I showed some of it, and I was like, no, this is more than enough because it took me so long. Like the planes, train, automobiles locations, it's almost exactly like the movie. They go from New York
Yeah.
to Chicago. You
Yeah.
know, they're trying to get from New York to Chicago, and they filmed it like that. So that took
Yeah.
me. I went in reverse. So I was driving from Chicago,
To New
then
York.
south
Okay.
to New York, going all the way around a big circle. So I filmed it in reverse. It took a long time. I had to stop here, stop there, do another video at the same time. But then I did Uncle Buck, and I did what other movie? Home Alone, of course, but he's only in it for a little bit. But I think I did what other movie of
But if you
his?
want to get the music thing going, he was a member of one of the greatest polka bands that
The
did make
Spanky Brothers
that did them too. But the polka band in Home Alone.
in Home Alone.
Yeah, the polka band that gave Catherine
Yeah, what
O'Hara.
was her name?
Oh,
Yeah.
Gus
What was
Polinski.
that's Polinsky.
Gus Polinski.
I love that scene where oh god.
Yeah.
I could picture him right now. Yeah, he's definitely one of my heroes and one of my heads. You know, what a sad. He's so young, but you
Yeah, he
know,
wasn't even 50. Like it is really
no,
sad.
no,
I don't think anyone had a bad thing to say about him. I've never
no,
heard
no,
anything
no,
bad said about him whatsoever.
no. When I met him, he was more than he was so late for the production of Godspell that they were all doing. There was a reunion show.
Hmm.
So I got to meet, I was so fortunate. I got to meet Catherine O'Hara, Martin Short, Eugene Levy, all of them were there. They
Right.
went in, and I was supposed to be in watching it because I got invited because I was doing Second City at the time. So I was
Yeah.
supposed to be. So my friend and I wrote back and I'm like, I got to meet John Candy. I said, I don't know if I'll ever get another opportunity. He's like, well, we're gonna miss the show. I said, well, then we'll miss the show. I said, they said John's gonna be here. I gotta wait. So my friend, God bless him, waited with me. And so I could hear the show starting. I was like, I guess John Candy, maybe is he not showing up? And then literally, so it was at the, I don't know if you know, the theater on Simcoe or Victoria Street, downtown Toronto, Prince of Wales.
Yes, I think so.
It was, I think it was, that's where they had it. So from a pretty almost as far away as Dundas, I could all of a sudden see this figure get out of it because it was dark by this point, get out of a cab. And I swear to God, it was exactly what you see in Uncle Buck, like the silhouette
Right.
when you see that in the big overcoat and like a giant hand. I was like, oh my God, that's John Candy. And I could tell he was so far away. And he walks towards us, and I went up to him, started. He couldn't have been nicer. And I'm telling you, the man, if you see the picture, I was 6 feet. I still am, but I'm 6 feet at that age. He towers over me. Like of course he was an overweight dude. We know that, but he
Yeah.
was big. Like, and
Yeah.
so genuine. He signed a few things for me, took a couple of photos, and I said to him, I said to him, "You're going to be late, man. The show's already started." And he's like, it's okay. I'll get in there. I'll get in there. No problem. He goes, did they really start? They start already. He's like, oh boy, I better get in there. And he's just, but no rush. No rush.
Yeah.
And no attitude. Not like, oh, they can't start without me. He's just like, oh, they're my friends. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
You'll make an
Wow.
entrance.
I
Yeah.
remember shaking his hand in an Argo game.
Right. When he owned
when
the
he
arc.
when he
That's
owned the
when he,
Argos, a bunch of us went down and he was walking along the sideline, so we all went down. He shook every hand that stuck their hand
that's the
out.
type of guy he was. Yeah, you're right. Like everybody, nobody would ever have a bad thing to say about John Candy. He's just, he was very from what everything I've read about him, like he's one of those very quiet off camera,
Yeah,
funny when he wants to be, funny when he has to be, like when they're writing
yeah,
and when they're rehearsing and all that. But off camera, like, he's just not always on, He
right.
was very, very like it's so oh God, I'll never forget his face, like up close and just how sweet he was.
Yeah, he was a one of a kind for
Yeah.
sure. And
There's so
and
there's so many actors that have tried to be the next John Candy, and there never will be
no,
another John Candy. You know what I mean? I knew I had friends that after he died that were actors because I was involved in the actor that they thought they'd be the next John Candy. I mean, I can think of a couple of them. I'm not going to name their names, but I was like in my head, I'm like, you don't. Nobody is
yeah,
you that kind of
yeah,
humor combined with sweetness, combined with snidiness. Everything that he could do. There's a way he did it that nobody could compare to him.
speaking of, I want to get into a little about yourself. You said you have a background in acting. Like
Sure.
where did you start doing that? Like and what did you used to do? Like where did you get started? Was it in
I
school
was
or?
Yeah, in school I started writing plays in like grade 4 to put
Mhm.
on in front of the school. So I would write them and I would, say what we want to perform, like pretty much tell the school we want to perform this,
Right.
and we want to put this on for the class or then the school. I was doing that all through primary school, like, grade 4 to 6.
Hmm.
And then a real once I got into grade 7/puberty starting, I got really shy, like immensely shy.
Yeah.
And I was still loud and talkative like the way I am in real life, like, with my friends, but I was really it's just all, you go through a phase. So
Right.
I didn't join any of the drama programs at junior high. I had nothing. And then I finally said in grade 9, I was like, okay, I'm going to take drama this year. And I was so shy in that class for half the year. And that's not me. And then it just, all of us, I did one performance of something, it got really well received. I was just like, this is again, I remember this. This is what I want to do. So then I
Yeah.
acted all throughout high school, then university, then I took Second City. And then I got an agent. I did a couple of independent films. I produced and directed an independent film. Started it got buried by it's on YouTube. And then I did a few other movies and stuff. The auditioning process is very, very difficult. It's not for me. Basically, it's you to give you a
Right.
side of a script. Here, be funny or be sad. Read this, and it's like, how do you come up with a character in that
Right.
short of time? And but that's how the business is. And I just didn't. I hated the audition process. Hated it. I could not stand it. I found one of the last audition I went on back, gosh, in the early 2000s. I was dating a girl at the time. We had the same agent, and they were partnering couples up. So they partnered us up, of course, because we were together. And
Right.
so we had to go and dance in bathing suits in front of like a long table with people watching. It's like, So we had to. I'm in a bathing suit. My girlfriend's in a
Yeah.
bikini at the time, my girlfriend, and we had to dance like we were on a Caribbean cruise and having fun. And I was like, what is happening? Like in my head, I was like dying. And then I went outside and I remember turning, I said, I'm never auditioning again. I said, that was humiliating. That was
Right.
the worst. I had been getting work. I got some commercials, and one of them paid for us to go on a huge trip together. And so everything was going great. And then that one audition killed it for me. So then I just stopped for a long time. But yeah, I have a background. I'm big, pretty, yeah. Like I love performing.
Because it seems
Am
to
I good?
help.
Very much. Pardon?
I think what you're doing on YouTube is right up your alley, because
Thanks.
whatever you did in terms of acting and stuff like that, it helps you not be shy on camera, at least.
Right.
At the
Right.
least it's
It's
giving you that.
100%. 100%. It's that having that sort of, well, the background, but also the desire, like I want to
Right.
be on camera, do stuff and whatever, and acting. And I like, I was never like, I want to be a famous actor, or celebrity. I was always like, I want to be an actor. I want to,
Right.
perform, but for good. So that has been in my blood since I was little, since before I can remember. So it definitely helps with the YouTube thing, because I'm not acting on the channel, but a few videos I've done where I'm playing characters and playing a heightened
Yeah.
version of myself. I sneak those in every now and again to have fun, but otherwise, yeah, you put a camera on me, I'm ready to go.
And
So
you're obviously influenced by the business, even though you're not in it the way you originally tried to get into it
influenced,
for. Like, yeah, you're influenced. You're obviously a big pop culture fan and are quite knowledgeable about it,
yeah,
which is why I watch you too, because you're
yeah.
very knowledgeable about music, acting.
Right.
You're really.
If yeah, like if there's certain subjects that I'm interested in, but I don't know everything about, I got to do a lot of research. But if you put the camera on me and say, let's talk Kurt Cobain or Eminem or Michael Jackson or
Yeah.
Brad Pitt or Fight Club locations or something like that, I can just like blah talk for hours and whatever, because I retain that information. If you ask me where I parked my car that
Yeah.
day, I'd be like, I am not sure, but I took a picture of where I parked it because I
Right.
know that I forget. If you ask me, like literally 5 minutes after we get into, like, say, a hotel room, let's go back out. Where are your keys? I'd be like, uh, probably in the shower. Why in the shower? I
Yeah.
don't know. That's something I do because I'm an idiot. But let's talk about, Dave Grohl for 4 hours. I can tell you everything
Yeah.
about him. It's ridiculous. There's some things, like you're obviously a pop culture guy. There's some things, some topics, like I'm out of my element in. Like if, like, people are going to talk about, even like, I don't know, well, rocket science. I'm not going to have
Yeah.
much to add to that conversation if I'm sitting around with a bunch of rocket scientists. I'll be like, yeah, I like the song "Rocket" by Def Leppard. What
Yeah.
about you? That's about all I'd have to say. You remember Weird Science? That was a
Yeah.
good movie. I really like. So I'm no genius or brilliant. I just know a lot about pop culture.
Yeah, I know. I grew up with friends where, every joke that came out of our mouth probably came from a reference to a movie.
Right.
And if you
Yeah.
didn't see the movie, you'd probably not laugh at it whatsoever. But you strike me
I,
as the kind of
yeah.
guy, if I did reference a movie, you would pick up on it right away and probably laugh.
More than likely, I can tell you I can tell you're gonna say if I drop reference, and it's so bad with me and certain groups of friends when we say something to each other before laughing or before even like respond, we're like, "What's that from?" Because we don't
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
We don't even believe that we can actually each be individually funny without it referencing somebody else. Like I went through it last week with my friend. Every time he says it, he'd be like, "What's that from?" I'd be like, "What's that from?" It's like it's from my head. It's not from a movie, but most of the time, it is from a movie or a
Yeah.
TV show. You know?
Yeah. Like my boss told me he'd be back the other day, and I told him, "You're legally obligated to say that like Schwarzenegger, you know that?" And he said,
Yeah,
"No, I'm not."
but he got the joke.
He did. Oh, he totally got the joke, which was the best part about it. But
Yeah,
but at least he gets it. He doesn't laugh, but he gets it. So that's the good
he
part.
doesn't laugh. Yeah, yeah. You got. I'll be back. How do you know? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, that's crossed. That's crossed over just pop culture nerds. That's gone into the zeitgeist of anybody knows I'll be back. Even they
Yeah.
haven't seen.
How can
I
you
would think.
not? Yeah. But what are your musical influence though? Like I this is mainly a music thing that I cover,
Yeah, I
but
know.
I'm
It
big into
sounds.
music. But you're obviously into a lot of music. Or who are some of your favorite Canadian artists? I know you don't cover a lot of them, but
I
who are
do. I mean, I want to do more. The problem is, like I said, I think we talked off camera about this before, like, or
right?
it could have been. I don't. I never set out to. If I start saying, okay, well, am I going to cover this? How many views is it going to get? How many views am I going to get if I do this? If I start living my life and doing my channel like that, it's you can't. That's not how my channel started,
Yeah,
and I hold true to that. I'm like, if it's something I want to do, I want to see, I'm going to go do it, and hopefully viewers will watch. And I've had some great success with that because there's so
right,
many things that we all love, our generation or younger generation and old generations.
right.
Always certain things, but there's some really obscure things I've done on my channel where it's
Sure.
either somebody's come some that like a few things have blown up would have been obscure ones that I thought nobody would ever have an
Yeah,
interest, and then there's some where they get the exact amount of views I thought they would, like nothing. Nobody's
yeah,
watching it because they don't know what I'm talking about. But I guess like when it comes to like Canadian bands, I know in my head it's not going to get a lot of views. You know what I mean? So for me to do, like, I'm going to do obviously something about Gordon Lightfoot at some point because he transcends Canadian.
right.
He's huge. And I would do so, and I've done who else? I did somebody else, Canadian music. I can't remember. I did somebody else. But
I should know this.
I know I can't remember who else I did. But like for me, I'm just like, well, what can I do regarding what can I do regarding them? Because a tour of like Canadian hotspots or where this band played, like it's just I don't know. I know in my head, like I'm just like if it's because my channel also is a travel channel too.
Right.
So I gotta pay money out of pocket to go to all these places. So for me, I'm always like,
Yeah,
well, is it worth me to go all the way there just for one video? No. So I gotta have like 20 to 30 ideas
right.
for one area or one trip. Otherwise, it's not worth.
Sure.
I can't do I have to make it so each trip counts. But I would love to do more. For Canadian bands, I mean, I grew up in the era. I believe it's still existing. I grew up in the era of CanCon, as you did.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yeah.
I was explaining that to my friend last week, who is from California. I was saying like we had much music. We had the radio, obviously FM radio. I said, but 40% of it had to be Canadian content. So whether or
Right.
not you like Canadian music, it was there, and also it was just mixed in. We grew up with it. Like to me, when I was growing up, in the 80s,
Yeah.
Glass Tiger I had all their albums and loving them, and and I had Duran Duran, and it was all I didn't look upon one as like really being Canadian and lesser
Right.
or Canadian or whatever. I was just like, but you mentioned some of these bands, like I played Tragic Hip for my friend last week. He had
Hmm.
never heard of them. He had
Really.
never heard of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
and but he's from the States, from California.
Well, you mentioned
And I was
Much
like,
Music, and that's the place that really inspired me to do this channel, is because Much
because
Music
they
was,
don't do stuff like this anymore.
well, they don't for one, and but the thing is, they played everything on that station. Like, I mean, they'd play the
Mhm.
big top 40 hits from America and all around the world, but they would play, if you were a Canadian band and you had a video, it didn't matter how big you are, they would put it in heavy rotation.
Yep,
Like a band
yep,
like
they would. They would.
The Pursuit of Happiness is my example. Like they made that cheap little video of them just
I'm
standing
an
on
adult now.
Queens. Yeah, I'm an adult now. Queen Street. It's just him standing there basically with his band playing. It's a terrible video, but they played it like
Yeah.
crazy. Much Music played it to the point
Yeah.
where it was in heavy rotation. They didn't even have an album out, but they played it
Oh, they
like
didn't?
crazy. No, they didn't. That's the crazy part. Like it made a demand for him to put an album out. So
There was I'm thinking of Parachute Club, Rise Up, but there was
yeah,
also um Luba. Remember Luba?
I totally remember Luba. Yep.
What was her
Let It
big
Go was
song?
one of her. Let It Go, I think, was one of her big songs.
The one where she's in a hot air balloon.
I believe that might have been it. Or How Many? Maybe that was it. There was a
Which
couple
one
of
was
songs I really remember her.
I'm living back in the same where I grew up. So it was filmed down the street in the park as near Zion Heights.
Oh, really?
I remember as a kid being blown away because you could see the school in the background. I'm like, that school, it's down the street from my house.
Yeah,
Oh my God, crazy. And then in the Spoons video, Romantic Traffic, at the end of the video, when they're showing all the transit riders
yeah.
singing along, you remember the video. I was just saying to my sister tonight when we were at dinner, I said, so that was your friend that kisses the girl. Remember in the video? She goes, yeah. She was like, John. I said, John Jopak. And she's like, yeah, that's John. So we were watching. So she went to high school with him. He was in high school when that video came out. So it's just, so it's such a small world and kind of a small, like to grow up Canadian is we have, especially from that generation, from the 80s, we have a shared experience that not a lot of other generations will have in terms of music because now I don't know about CanCon on these stations or whatever, and everything's Spotify and everything's a playlist is made for you,
And
and
that was the early stages of music video, period.
right. I sound like a grumpy old man yelling at the cloud, but it's kind of true. Like we
Yeah,
had we were kind of forced to listen to Canadian music. It had to be, but it gave us a sense of identity as
right.
well. Like that shared experience of loving Tragically Hip, of loving Bare Naked Ladies, even Rush, but they were huge. But and then Pursuit of Happiness, Northern Pikes, all these bands, like
Yeah,
nobody else is gonna know them outside of Canada. But it gave us this, there's some bands, like I said, Rush, Triumph, Brian Adams, he crossed over. But these
right.
other, there are bands.
There
And
are, yeah, for
nowadays,
sure.
kids are like listening to kids or, younger people in the 20s. They're not, I don't think Canadian music is forced on them as much as it was on us. And I say forced in a funny, joking way, but it was.
Yeah,
We had no choice.
but we didn't mind it because some of it was really
No,
good.
I didn't
Like,
care.
who didn't love Gowan as a teenager?
Criminal Mind, man.
Who didn't
Cosmetics.
love that?
Yeah, great song. I remember my friend, his older brother, his friend, said he lived on the same street as Gowan out in Scarborough. And for years, I was blown away that he actually lived on the same. I don't know if it was ever true. They were probably lying to me. But I was
Yeah.
like, what? Gowan lives on your street? And be like, yeah, man, Gowan lives right like two stroke there. I would be like, what? That's fucking awesome. Gowan.
Well,
You know?
that's what was big when I grew up in Mississauga. Like where I grew up, I didn't know how many famous people lived near. I remember my mom used to talk to Daryl Sittler's wife at the grocery store because
Isn't that wild?
he lived in my neighborhood. I remember my brother ran into Rick Emmett in the grocery store from Triumph because he lived in our neighborhood. He lived around it. I
Yeah.
guess, oh, Tommy Hunter. If you knew who Tommy Hunter was, I'm sure you did. He had a show on the CBC. He was a country singer, but he had a show every
Tommy
Friday
Hunter
night.
show? Was
Yeah,
it?
the Tommy Hunter show. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember that. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, he was on every Friday night. But he lived in my neighborhood. And then I met Tom Cochran a few years ago and I told him that I grew up in Clarkson. And he said, yeah, we rented a house there and did all our pre-production stuff there for the album that Big League was on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
I'm
guy was
like,
huge.
I mean, you were 2 blocks from my house recording one of my favorite Canadian records of all time, and I didn't even know it. Like I'm
Kind of
so,
wild.
and I
Yeah.
never ran into you once. Like it was unbelievable to hear that.
It's like it's like I mean, somebody if somebody knows somebody, there will always be a connection to somebody. You know what I mean? Especially
For
for
sure.
those bands like He's Nice. Like nowadays, like with Drake, Justin Bieber, who are huge Canadian artists, it's a little more difficult to
For
say,
sure.
well, somebody knows them. Well, somebody I know will know them. But
Right.
definitely back in the day, it's like when you think about it now, it's like, wow, I was so close to knowing da da da, or this person. But yeah, my favorite bands are from Canadian bands. Definitely Glass Tiger was one of them when I was a kid. I mean, their greatest hits that came out, I guess, in the early '90s,
Yeah.
collection of their 80s. Like almost every song is for us as Canadians,
Yeah.
and almost every song on that greatest hits is a hit. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like I love that greatest hits,
Well, I
and
guess
Lover.
the thing that took me to Glass Tiger was hearing Brian Adams guest sing on
Yeah,
their big hit, right? So
yeah. Don't forget me when I'm gone. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like
He'd sing backup for it. That was a big thing for them, I'm sure. I saw Alan Frew at Fairview Mall in Toronto once. And I was just like, holy shit, that's Alan Frew. That's a lead singer of Glass Tiger. And I know that if I saw some of these artists in person, I'd be like, oh, I gotta show you something if you like Brian Adams. Hold on, let me look. Let me see if I can find it.
sure.
I think it's in here, but I can't. I don't know for sure. I should have thought of this beforehand, but I think. Well, here's all my. Oh yeah, here it is. Here's all my. Uh, there's like my John Candy autograph there,
Oh,
Martin
nice.
Short autograph. This is all my pictures of, Dave Thomas, Paul Schaefer
Oh,
autographs.
very nice.
But all Team Canada. This is when I just like love to. Where I just saw it. So my friend, when he got a job in out just after he left university in a Summit County firm, one of their clients was Brian Adams. So
Really?
and was really close to one of the women that was accountant, like they were friends. And so Jason said, "Oh, my friend me loves Brian Adams. Do you think I could get an autograph for him?" And she was like, "Sure, sure. Next time Brian comes in." So I gave my copy of Waking Up the Neighbors to him. He brought
Yeah.
it down to King Street to the TD Financial Center where they were located, and he brought it back to me one day with the autograph, and it says he forgot to tell her my name. So Brian Adams signed it to Jason's friend, Brian Adams. That's my one of my most prized possessions, to Jason's friend. That's all I got. I'm like,
That's
but
almost as good as having your name on it.
yeah, so it's actually even funnier now. But if you look, see, like when I say on my channel, like I've been doing this for before I did YouTube. I've been going to all these places,
Right.
and occasionally I'll put up a picture on Instagram and be like, here's me at a famous grave, and when I'm like 16, or a filming location. Here's all pictures back in the '90s of me at Wayne Gretzky's house.
Oh, wow.
You know, so this is all my pop culture pictures and
Scrapbook.
autographs. Yeah, from the '80s and '90s, because everything you see on my channel is basically stuff already been doing my whole life. Like I drag my parents to weird places, friends
Yeah,
to weird places. Like I want to go here,
sure.
and I decided to start filming it.
Well, that's how I got started. These two guys asked me to be administrators on a Facebook fan club for Stompin' Tom Connors
Nice.
because I'm a big fan of Tom's because my dad grew up down the road from where he grew up.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so anyway, I started doing interviews with members of who played with him over the years, people that played in his bands over the years, and it kind of got to be fun. I've gotten to know a few of the guys that played with Tom over the year. They all have great stories to tell about, going on the road with him and recording with him and stuff like that. And this is what kind of made me want to do this, expand onto my own and do my own thing. And it's been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Like, I mean, I can't
Yeah,
believe I'm
good. You're
talking.
good at it. Yeah, you got. I would. Yeah, you get it. If you're gonna stick to the Canadian angle, I mean, you've already got some great people on it. So keep doing it, man. Like you've already, like, who knows? Brian Adams next, maybe
Well,
uh what's his
who
name
knows?
from how'd you get Baker? What's it? Bobby Baker?
Yeah, I'm also looking to interview people that used to be on Much Music. Like I've interviewed Bill Welichka. He
Oh
used to be
wow.
on Much Music, and he's got a book coming out about his years at Much, and he's really excited about it. And he said he wants to do another interview when the book comes out.
Well, he better. I mean, you know
So
what I mean? Like no the, like he's got to sell the book, and you better do whatever interview you can find, because
yeah,
that's a small that, it's a small audience he's going to get for that book, but it could be a lucrative audience. You know what I mean? Like if
Right.
everybody who watched music and is interested in Bill Welichka, but you gotta. I feel it sounds like I'm mad at him for something, but I'm not. I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a small YouTube channel. Like, I'm not gonna say no to people who wanna, who are like someone like you was just getting your start. Why would I? Why would I say no? Like, I want to help, and also it's good publicity for my channel. So he better do his book. I would love. I would love to. Steve Anthony, I used to know because he used to come in the restaurant I worked at. He was great. I used
Yeah.
to know Steve kind of well, and I love him. Erica M, Master T, you name it, all from the
Right.
glory days. These are names that mean a lot to you and me. And then go down to Niagara Falls, Ontario, walk across the bridge into Niagara Falls, New York. Nobody. You know what I mean?
Nobody knows who they are.
Nobody will know. No, no, no.
Oh,
But to me,
but we know all the Buffalo people. We know all the
yeah,
people used to be on.
Irv Weinstein. We know
Yeah.
North Tonawanda. There's a lot of fires there for some
Commander
reason.
Tom.
Every day there's a fire in North Tonawanda. We know that. You're right. But they didn't get any of our stuff really. So, but there's so many Canadian, like Moses Neimer. Nobody's gonna know that name other than, you know what I mean? Like it's just a different time. And also I do have a bone to pick with Much Music still to this day. Well, first of all, I auditioned twice to be a VJ, and both times I got turned down. One time I made it to the final cut. I made it to the final four and I did not make it. So that's fine. But my problem with them was, and I think I probably told them this, and maybe this is why I didn't get the job, was I was so angry. I was so angry at the fact that they were playing Nirvana, they were playing all this stuff, they were playing grunge, and we were all, loving it. And all of a sudden in like 96, they stopped playing any music of our generation and they went to a generation below. And all
Right.
of a sudden they said, no, 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 you go to Much Music Plus, or what was it called?
Oh, much more music.
Much more. No, no, it's your time. Go away now. You go to my. I put on Much More Music. It'd be like Celine Dion. And when I was like a late teens, early 20s guy, I was like, I love her now. Don't get me wrong. I
Right.
was like, what the fuck? I'm watching. I have to see Rio by Duran Duran. I have to sit through a Celine Dion video. Like, what do you think I am?
Yeah.
Like Much Music just all of a sudden, like one day said, nope, your generation, you're out. You're on Much More Music now. I'm like,
But
I'm not a
that's what happens
mom.
when a corporation takes over.
That's right.
That's pretty
There's
much what
no
happened when Bell took over. When Bell bought all that, they threw all the creativity out the
Yeah,
window.
there's no. I mean, even when just like and I wasn't even joking. Like I do love Celine Dion. If you watch my Instagram, I put a lot of stuff up about her. I think she's just so funny. She's so self-aware. You know what I mean? She's so self-aware of who she is, and she likes to have fun and make fun of it. So I think she's a pretty cool woman. But
Yeah.
when we drove past Much Music a couple of days ago, me and my friend from California, he's like, "Oh, isn't City TV? Didn't you mention that to me the other day? Because I showed the sign City TV everywhere
Yeah.
in one of my videos." Him. I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, that building used to mean a lot to me, man." He's like, "Is that?" He goes, "What was that? That was Much Music you were telling me about, right? That's where it was." I said, "Yeah." I said,
Yeah.
back in the day, I would have parked right now, gone up to the window. I would have been walking back and forth, looking for the car coming out the side of the building. I said, now I just drive by and I'm like, I don't know what goes on in that building, but it was the biggest building around.
Speaker's Corner was a big part of it too.
Yep, Speaker's Corner. I met the day I did Speaker's Corner one day, like I had just come out of a restaurant where I met Dan Aykroyd and Tim Allen, and it
Wow.
was at the restaurant just down the street from Much Music that Dan Aykroyd owned. And so they were all
Okay.
here. Dan was filming, I can't remember who he was filming, but Tim Allen was filming, I think, Santa Claus. And
Okay.
I met Dan Aykroyd in the bathroom of the restaurant. He was so super nice to me. He came in the room when I was doing what you do in a bathroom, as a gentleman. And I went, "Oh my God," because he's huge and he's Dan Aykroyd. And it was just me and him. He goes, "How you doing there, kid?" He goes, "I'm gonna go in the stall if you don't mind." I'm like, "Not at all." Like, Dan Aykroyd, do what you gotta do. So I waited for him, which is weird, I guess, but he talked to me for a good 20 minutes. I remember this so well. Gave me really great advice about he said, "Oh, you're taking Second City course. That's great. Do this, do that." Really good advice. And then we were standing there at the top of the stairs. And he goes, "Well, I'm gonna let you get back to your friends, and I'm gonna get back to my friends." And then he pointed over motion to his table. And I said, "Is that Tim Allen with you?" There was like about 10 guys. And I
Yeah.
go, "Is that Tim Allen?" He goes, "Sure is. You want to meet Tim?" I said, I do want to meet Tim Allen." And he walked me over and goes, "This is my new friend Scott. I met him in the bathroom." And they just riffed on each other, like riffed on that joke for 10 minutes. And I was just like standing there like, oh my God. And so then I went back to my table and my friends were like, "You were just standing talking to Dan Aykroyd for 20 minutes. Like, what the fuck?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know, man. I am." And we got drunk. We just proceeded to really drink more. This is around 2021. So then we went out to Speaker's Corner, and it was the same day or day after Wendell Clark got traded from the Leafs, from
Oh
Matt
no.
Sundin. So we went on there and we just yelled and yelled about, "You can't trade away the captain. You can't trade Wendell Clark, blah, blah, blah." And they aired it, which was really cool. And I remember that being like weighed in, seeing it on. And then about 6 months later, Matt Sundin was my favorite player.
Yeah.
I was still against him coming to Toronto, but then I loved him.
Oh, I can see that. Wendell was a
Yeah.
hard guy to lose, that's for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Heartbreaking when he got traded.
I mean, I'm a hockey fan myself. I rip on the Leafs sometimes, but that team in '93,
Yeah.
they
Special.
really took us on a run that year. Like
Yep.
Doug
So
Gilmore,
special.
Wendell Clark, Dave Andreychuk, the cat Felix Potvin. You
Yep.
can't go wrong
Yep.
with that. But I'm more of a
Krzyzewski's
junior.
goal.
I'm more of a
More
junior
of a
hockey
junior.
fan myself.
Oh, I can't watch. See, yeah, I
I see
get
all the
it. Like
guys
I've watched
before they
some.
get big.
I
Like I
like
mean,
that. Like I'm a hockey fan. I grew up playing hockey, and I grew up watching hockey and loving the Leafs, Wayne Gretzky. So I loved Edmonton and LA as well. But now I've gone full, part of the term, batshit crazy, where I'm no longer a hockey fan. I'm a Maple Leafs fan.
right.
I don't think I don't I once the Leafs are out, knock on wood that tomorrow doesn't happen, but let's be honest, we know what's happening. But they're gonna win still. But once the Leafs are out, I don't watch any other hockey. I can't look at anything to do with the Leafs or anything else. I'm just like, nope. Like, so I've gone full dementia.
Because I was watching the Hurricanes tonight. Their goalie is Frederick Anderson. You must
Oh, I
remember.
know. Oh, yes, I know, I know. My sister had the game on, the New Jersey Carolina game. I said, "What is this doing on?" She goes, "I just turned the TV on." I said, "Can you please turn to something else? Because we're gonna have dinner." I was like, "I can't have that in the background because I know once the Leafs are out, if they don't, again, not gonna win, they're gonna win. I get really depressed.
But
But
I'm also into sports because of movies. I have a
right?
Chicago Blackhawks jersey with Griswold on the back.
Oh, nice,
I also
nice.
have I was cheering for the New Jersey Devils because of Seinfeld.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, buddy. You see somebody put the Maple Leafs one over him?
Yes, I did see that. It was quite funny.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I put that. Yeah, I had that on my Instagram last week. I forget where I saw it, but oh my God, that's so funny.
I have a
Yeah, that.
Detroit Red Wings jersey because of Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Uh,
I'm actually. There's a couple of teams I know. I used to hate I hate pretty much every other team, but I have a soft spot for Detroit. I have a soft spot for LA. I have a soft spot for, like, once we beat, like, Detroit was number one enemy in the early '90s. You know what I
right.
mean? We were in the
Oh,
same
for sure.
division,
Yeah.
fighting it out with them, so I hated Detroit. But then they won the Stanley Cup a couple of times, and then they became, like, they're like the underdog all the time now. They can never get out of this hole they're in. And as if you've watched my channel, I love the city of Detroit. It's my
Yeah.
second favorite city after Toronto, maybe LA, Detroit. But so I have a soft spot for the Red Wings, but I don't care. Only the Leafs can win. I think
Oh,
once the Leafs are out of the playoffs, they should be canceled. They shouldn't go on. Like, it should just be like, that's it. Okay, well, Maple Leafs are out. All right, that's it. We're gonna cancel the rest. I'd be like, yep, I'm down. It's not fair.
I don't know. I just I like to be able to watch the players that I saw play in the OHL or
Yeah, it's
in
cool.
the Q. I like seeing those players. Like New Jersey has two guys that played in Mississauga for 3 years. So
Connor Bedard's
I'm
coming.
Connor Bedard. I've seen him play. I saw Tavares play in Oshawa.
That's crazy. That's
You
cool.
know, I saw him play. I saw McDavid play in the OHL. I don't know how many times
Wow.
before he became what he is. You know, it's cool to be able to say you saw those guys when they were,
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
when they
yeah.
were kids basically, and to see them grow. It's fun to watch them. You know,
And to get
so
their, like, picture with them or an autograph before they, yeah, because it's almost impossible to, it's such a, I mean, to get a picture with a hockey player,
yeah.
like, here I've got hundreds. There's like hundreds, like Mike Gardner, Dale Howard. I've got hundreds of pictures of me with hockey players here
Well,
nowadays.
I
Unless
worked
you
for
run
the
into one on
OHL
the.
for 8 years.
Pardon me?
I worked in OHL for over 20
Oh, that's
years.
cool.
I did camera for the local community channel, and I used to be an off-ice official at Mississauga OHL games.
Oh wow.
So I saw a lot of guys come out of the OHL over the years and make it to the NHL, and it's fun to watch them grow. You know, it's
You were an off-ice official? Were you in like a gondola, or were you by the rink around
I
the
did
glass?
everything. I used to run the clock. I used to goal judge, basically turn the red light on. I used to do statistics on a computer up in the press box.
You were the guy that during OHL games, you were the guy that turned the red light on if it was a goal.
Yeah, one of them. Yep.
How did you really that those guys? How did I would you know what if I did that? They'd be like they'd be like go like somebody would score. The refs hand goes up points, and they'd
Yeah.
be like look where's the light? And I'd be like I don't know if I'd be on my phone. I'd be like oh yeah like yeah let me press that yeah let me I could not. I'm fascinated by those guys. They get the red light before anybody else does. But I know I'm distracted by butterflies. Like you know what I mean? Like I could not do that job. That to me, like to see that puck go over that line that fast and get that red light on. The red light's on before the ref's hand is up,
Well,
or
you got the
pointing.
best view of you're sitting right behind the
But
goalie.
you can't look at anything else. You have to look right there
It's
for like
true. You
for
focus on things that
you
nobody
know
else sees. I've
50 minutes chopped
you
up,
you see things in the game that a lot of regular people don't see just from doing that job.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I would
like
just be I would be so I'd be like Clockwork Orange, where they hold open my eyes and
yeah,
like force me put like clamps on my head and don't look away because I'm so just easily distracted. That's I always am fascinated by people who do that job because sometimes I'm like, is it in? Like, is the puck in? And
it was fun.
wow,
I do it here in Charlottetown too for the Quebec team. The
that's
Quebec,
cool.
one of the teams that come in is the Quebec Ramparts, who are coached by Patrick Waugh.
Oh wow,
So he comes in once in a while.
he doesn't have a temper at all. Jesus.
Um, I actually met him once. He was actually one of the nicest people I ever met.
Sure, to you.
Yeah,
I just always remember him. He's just he's Patrick Waugh, man. The guy is the greatest one, if not the greatest goalie of all time. Like, is even as a
sure.
Toronto fan, I can admit that. But he just seemed like a guy that got angry a lot. But
Yeah,
I mean, goalies always are like Ron Hextall. There's a million goalies that just have, you know,
sure, sure.
you
Oh,
know.
there's been guys like that over the years for sure. But
If my job is to have 30-year-old men shoot rubber bullets at me for an hour a night, 80 miles an hour, I'd be pretty pissed off too.
and they're frozen too. They keep the pucks
Yeah,
frozen.
it's even
Just letting you
worse.
know that.
Like
Yeah.
if that was my job to be an NHL goalie, I don't care how much money you work. That hurts. Like a puck this size coming
Yeah,
80 miles
we
an
had a
hour.
cooler in between the benches. We had a cooler in between the penalty boxes that kept the pucks frozen and cold. So
That's crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, they're frozen. I am.
it was lots of fun. But
Oh, I bet.
you don't get much to cheer for here in PEI. I mean, oh, Haywire's from here. Do you remember them?
Yeah, what was your big song? What was
Bad Bad
Haywire?
Boy, Dance Desire,
Dance Desire. I remember
Drop the
that song.
Needle. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
hey,
So
got the what was the Needle song? That was them.
yeah. Well, it was sampled in Maestro Fresh West's
Oh yeah, of
song.
course. Yeah.
It was
Maestro,
sampled in there. Maestro Fresh West.
so that's another connection. Pete and Anthony Davis, who are Maestro's producers, grew up right across the street from me, right in these towns is right here. So on the other side of the street where I am. So when it says Pete and Anthony went in the studio, composed the beat, that's who
Yeah.
he's talking about, Pete Davis. So I was a big Maestro fan because I'm a big hip hop fan, a rap fan. And I never got to see Maestro anywhere. Like I thought, he's from Scarborough, but I thought I'd get to see him here all the time. And like he lived close to my best friend lived there. I never saw him. But then one time I was at the plaza around the corner and I just came out of a store. I looked to my right, there was a payphone. It was Maestro Fresh West. He was on the payphone. I just stood there waiting. I was like 17. I just stood there waiting. And I guess by this time, but he just knew somebody waiting. He just turned around, cut the phone, and goes, "Stop." And I went, Maestro. He goes, "Yeah, man, how you doing?" I went, pretty good, Maestro. He goes, "Okay." And got back and went back to the phone. I was just like, "That's it. That's the coolest thing ever." Because Maestro was our the biggest hip hop export we had around that
Oh,
time.
for sure. He lives in the Maritimes now, just thought you should know.
Does he really?
He lives in St. John, New Brunswick now.
What's he doing out there? Like, what made him move out there?
Who knows? But that's where he's from. I see him.
He's just such a he's not just withstanding his case. He's a very very talented guy, and
He is.
like we loved it, like Let Your Backbone Slide. Like some of the lyrics on that to this day, I've never heard anybody like with a flow like his and who can
Yeah.
gather word like a real wordsmith. And I
You could
love.
put him side by side any other hip
Oh, for
hop or rap
sure.
artist, and
Yeah.
he would totally not be out of place with any of them. Like, and that's that.
He was
I
very,
mean,
very fast and very, very technical. He's a very good technical rapper. And it was different era of hip hop and rap too. It was when hip hop and rap was fun, not
yeah,
just
you know,
the hip hop and rap that comes out today. Some of it I still listen to lots of different artists today, and some of it's fun, but
yeah,
it seems to me they've lost the fun that's in rap and hip hop that
yeah,
used to be. Some artists still do it, and there's some new artists that come out that are still like there's Conway the rapper. There's lots of
yeah.
rappers nowadays that's I've never heard of before. They're like 1920. I'm like, yeah, this is some good stuff. But I like fun rap.
Would you include Tom Green in there?
Check the you
Or
like
you
it
like
so
it
far.
so far?
Check the
Yeah,
you like it so far. I do. I mean, I like that song. That's for sure. I
yeah.
do like that song. He it was. I mean, Organized Rhyme. Did they have any other hits? I don't think they did.
I'm not sure whether they did or not, but it was a
I don't
pretty
think
well known song. But yeah, I don't get to talk much rap
for
and hip
us,
hop on here,
for us.
but I'd like to do more rap and hip hop on here. Maybe you could help me out with that. I don't know. I don't know much about the
Well, there
Canadian
wasn't.
side. I
Sure,
remember.
yeah. I mean, there was there wasn't a lot going on in the 80s until Maestro. You know what I
Right.
mean? Until Maestro, then there was Maestro Fresh West and Kish. Kish had a couple of big
That's
hits. I
right.
don't know if
Kish. I was trying to
Around
think of
the
that.
World, Baby. Yeah, Around the World. That was a great song. He had another hit. Kish had another hit. I'm trying to think of some other big rappers around that time. And then we got Cardinal Official, coming out. And there's always been a rapper every now and again that crosses over. But then we had, you know, we had the biggest one of the biggest rappers of all time, Drake, come out of Toronto. So,
For sure.
we
For
got
sure.
that. I mean, and that guy, he's got some great songs. I know people some like, well, Drake. I'm like, well, if you give it a chance, there's some
For
songs that
sure.
are just really great and fun, danceable songs and groove songs. And the guy loves Toronto. He gives back. He's very philanthropic. He's a very, very generous guy.
And a
So I
Degrassi
so that
graduate.
graduate, and even Bieber, who is he's Canadian, and a lot of people just well, Justin Bieber, Justin whatever. And it's like, well, the kid can play every instrument. He writes and produces a lot of his own stuff. He's got a
Yeah.
lot of hits. Can't take any of that away. He's got a sound maybe you don't like, but there's a few songs of his that I really like. I think are fun. I'll listen to them. But people think, oh, Justin Bieber. It's like, well, can you do what he does before you comment
Yeah.
on like, can you play piano, guitar, drums, and play them all? And
Exactly. Yeah.
and I have a soft spot for Bieber because he's such a huge Maple Leaf fan. He loves the Toronto Maple Leafs, so that makes
I
me
respect anyone who does it themselves.
right.
Like, I
Now the only
mean,
thing I don't like about Bieber is we're both huge Maple Leaf fans. I gotta pay to go see them, and he gets to go to practice and skate around. I get a little angry. I'm like, damn it, that's not fair.
it's
But I
not
love it.
fair.
I'm proud. I'm when it comes to Canadian music, and not we won't get into Canadian actors and all that. I mean, there's a million. But when it comes to Canadian music, it doesn't matter what style it is. I'm so proud. I'm like they're Canadian. If with any artist, I'll be like they're Canadian. I'm
Yeah.
proud. I'm happy. I want
Oh,
to see
for
Canadian
sure.
artists.
But I
You
also
know,
appreciate Canadian artists who stick. Like, I mean, I have a lot of
sorry.
I have a lot of respect for what Stompin' Tom was doing. Like, he fought a fight
Sure.
for Canadian artists that didn't leave Canada.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that was his big thing. Big thing was he never left Canada. He
Yeah.
did his
No.
work here at home.
Yeah. He did everything.
Kind of like the Tragically Hip did,
Yeah. I mean, I think the Hip were big in obviously Buffalo for some reason, but they
quarter
were big
pounds.
in Texas too. They were big in Texas.
Yes.
Not that they used to play to big audiences in Texas, but nowhere else in the States did they were they successful. And it's not they did try because if you
Yeah.
remember
They were on
Dan
Saturday Night
Aykroyd,
Live once. Yeah.
right, that was Dan Aykroyd hosting. He told Lauren Michaels, no, this is the musical guest. Like if you want me to do it again, I want to
Yeah.
choose music. And he chose Tragic again. But I'm sure Lauren Michaels is like, what? Who? Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Lauren Michaels is a genius producer, and he's like, he picks, he knows who to pick. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that would have been the first choice, some Toronto band with that's only known in Canada. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And they did, what did they do on that? They did Grace 2 and Gift Shop, or Grace 2 and
No, it
Nautical
was
Disaster.
Nautical Disaster, I believe. Yeah.
The two songs though, Nautical
Yeah.
Disaster and Grace 2, I think, right?
Yes.
Which, when you think of it, it's like, Gord, come on, buddy, you and the band. Like those are your two most difficult songs to like get a crowd pumped. They're great songs, but they're
Yeah.
not, 50 Mission Cap or Head by a Century, like the hits that would
Sure.
maybe grab an audience right away. Those are songs you got to put some work into listening to. And then like they're two of my
Right.
favorite songs, my personal favorite songs, but they're not easy hits.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The slow burning build up. It's such a Canadian thing to do. It's like, oh, we got our biggest shot ever in the world. Okay, let's play a 7-minute song that takes 5 minutes to get going. Okay. It's like, no,
Well,
play your hits, play the hits.
it was kind of like I don't know if you've seen the documentary about Spirit of the West.
No.
They went and made a video, and Much Music said, "Okay, this is a really weird video. It didn't really catch with anyone." And they
Mm-hmm.
were like, "This is a strange video. It hardly got any play." So they go, "Okay, we'll make another one. We'll get it right this time." Well, they pretty much made the same video over again.
Really? On purpose.
If you ever get a chance to see the documentary about them, it's
Oh,
really quite phenomenal. It took place around John Mann's Alzheimer's diagnosis,
okay.
and how they played their first ever and last show at Massey Hall.
Okay. Is it on
Um,
YouTube?
uh, I think it actually is on YouTube now. It's called Spirit Unforgettable. It's quite good. I think you'd really like it. It really gives you a respect for the band.
I forgot that it was Alzheimer's that how we lost him. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
That is unbelievable.
it's crazy. He wasn't even 60 years old.
Yeah, Spirit
Yeah,
Unforgettable document. Yeah, there it is. Wow.
yeah.
Oh,
It's an
wow.
incredible story. Like it really is about a band that I thought they should have been bigger, but it, also
Yeah,
because they were great guys too.
yeah, and I mean they're so different. They had that weird kind of like East Coast kind of vibe thing going,
But they
and
were
they
from
had then
Vancouver.
yeah, I know, but don't you connect them to that more of that with the violin and stuff like that, more of a maritime sound, don't you? Like I
Sure,
kind of do.
they were Celtic based and they did a lot of traditional
Right,
Celtic stuff in their early careers, but
right. So I think of Rankin,
they really mixed it in with like other kinds of music too,
yeah, I think of Rankin Family, that sort of thing.
for
Like when I
sure.
think of them, but Spirit of the West, they're just so original and so different, and it's
Yeah.
sad. Where's he buried?
I don't know if he was buried at all. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about that. I would think it'd be somewhere in the West Coast in Vancouver
Probably.
somewhere.
Yeah, that's
But he was an actor too.
oh really?
He dabbled in acting in the theater and
He looks like it.
um
I'm looking at pictures of him right now. He's got the look for sure.
yeah, he I think
Uh,
his wife was into it as well. Um, but yeah, super talented guy. I think he's one of the most underrated vocalists in Canada. Like in
oh
terms of
yeah,
a
great voice.
powerful singing voice, he had a great voice. But
Yeah,
it's just and they were probably my favorite band out of Canada,
yeah.
without a doubt. Like just I don't think
I
I've
don't
ever seen them phone in a show. I've seen them 20 times. I've never seen them phone it in.
do they perform at all anymore without him or
No, no.
no?
Their flute player and co-founder, he plays some with a couple of other bands once in a while, a band called the Paper Boys from out west. And I
Mm-hmm. Of
think he plays with the Irish Rovers, if you remember them.
course, my dad. I remember them through my dad. Yeah, the Irish Rovers. My goodness.
Yeah, wasn't
Yeah,
that a
they had the
party? And
album. Yeah, and there's wasn't that a party? Yeah, I
but
remember that song.
and the Unicorn, which was one of my favorites, the I don't know if you remember
Oh, that.
probably heard it in school. You got your green alligators and
Favorite,
long neck geese. But no, they were
maybe.
yeah, they were
I
basically
don't
an
know who
Irish folk band. But
I can't think of who my favorite Canadian band of all time would be. I don't know. I really don't know. Like yours is Spirit of the West. I wish I had a definitive answer. Like who is, I mean, I love, even when it comes to bands from all over the world, I can't really ever settle on this is my favorite band, this is my favorite artist. There's like five or six that I
Rush
could say
would
on
be
the top.
right up there with me too.
I like Rush. I like the hits. To me, Rush growing up, you kind of get your own especially when you're a teen, like you get your own music, your
Hmm.
own your own with the music usually when you're 13, 14, 15, that becomes your music.
Yeah,
And so I remember Rush, my uncle who was older than me, loving Rush, and my friend's older brother loving Rush. So to me, they were, well, that's their music. You know what I mean? So I didn't really listen to that much. I
right.
listened to other bands at the time. But then as you get older, you start to appreciate, it's such a shame if people don't, but as I got older, I'd be like, oh, I'll check out anything. So I love Rush now, of course. But never was my when Glass Tiger came along, Bare Naked Ladies especially was a
Yeah,
huge deal. Bare Naked Ladies, I was looking up their discography the other day because I was putting together a playlist for my friend from the States of all Canadian bands I thought you and I was like, Jesus, Bare Naked Ladies had a lot more albums than I thought they did. Said
yeah.
still do, of course, to me. But there's about three albums in a row where I was like, I don't know any of these songs, but
But to
still a
me,
good band.
Rush was an intergenerational band because there's people like I like Rush's music from the '80s when I was a teenager, but they
Right.
also had a bunch of fans from the '70s when they started, which
Right.
would have been
That's what
yeah,
it was in my head. Because I thought Bruce Springsteen, when I was in the 80s, early 90s, to me, Bruce Springsteen was my uncle's music, was a different, you know what I mean? I was just so into music. I wanted my own music. And then, like I said, once I
yeah,
started working at the record store, I've got the picture here with me, all my coworkers in front of me at the record store. I was exposed to so many different artists, so much
right,
different music. And now there's not any artists you can name that I don't know or don't like.
sure,
I like one song by them because I like all genres, all styles. But
sure.
you play the beginning of Tom Sawyer. You play that,
Everybody knows it.
everybody knows it, and instantly I'm like, where's the crane shot going into the parking lot, showing the high school? That's it's got some
Yeah,
movie. It should be the start of every movie. Every
right.
movie should start with Tom Sawyer playing by Rush, and then from a crane shot going into the main character's face or house, and
Yeah,
every movie it should be the first song in every movie.
I can't say I should disagree with you on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm more than I'm like just like Heaven by the Cure, that should end every movie. Every movie, and it doesn't matter what genre the movie is, doesn't matter what it's about. If you play Just Like Heaven, everybody's gonna walk out of that theater satisfied and happy.
Feeling good.
And then have them start singing. Everybody's happy, everybody goes home.
Hey, John Hughes knew what music to use in movies.
Certainly did.
And that's
Certainly did.
probably who you learned it from. And I know I did.
Yep.
I
Yep.
learned what music was the right for any movie, and
Yeah.
he was really on time with the music. You gotta give him that.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Ferris Bueller, the usage of uh yeah, oh yeah, yellow. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like the use how he
Hmm.
uses that song throughout the movie is incredible
Right.
with at various points.
For sure.
The
For
key
sure.
parts of the like how did it fits so well, and it's just I mean how he did that was incredible. Ferris Bueller, and then of course Breakfast Club with the soundtrack, 16
Oh,
Cans.
Don't You Forget About Me is still one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah, and if you hear it, you all you think about is Bender on the field going like this at
Oh,
the
for
end.
sure. For sure.
First thing you think of when you hear don't I mean, I would think that image. I got to go to that field. It's in Chicago outside the school where I did a video and I recreated it. And that was actually my second year of YouTube, I think. And these kids were looking at me like I was insane. And I was a little self-conscious because I just started because I set up I think I have that old tripod. It's in this room somewhere. I don't use it anymore. But I set up a tripod and walked towards the camera, then stopped, put the hand up. And I just
Right.
remember like three kids watching me like, what's that dude doing? Like what? nothing here. Like, why does he keep? I did it like 4 times. I was feeling a little weird, but it was to be on the same place for where he walked and did the thing. I had to do it. I'm not gonna not
It's
do it.
it's high on my list of places to go. I haven't done a lot of traveling in the US, and that's one of my places I really want to go is Chicago.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, there's so much. There's so much. I I leave again for LA in 2 weeks. 2 weeks today. And then if the Leafs, knock on wood, are out of the playoffs, which they won't be, knock on wood, I'm going to I'm going to do everything I can in LA for 2 or 3 weeks. Then I'll fly. I got two or three things to do in Portland, and then I've got a ton of things to do in Chicago. So I just drive there and do Chicago as a separate trip. But I
Right.
might actually fly from Portland to Chicago, do one video that I want to do before I forget, and then come home to Toronto. So because I love Chicago, but whenever I go there, I end up
Will
staying
you do a fugitive
longer.
special in Chicago?
Pardon?
Will you do a fugitive special in Chicago?
I would love to. I've done the train wreck.
Yeah, I
I've done
remember that.
the only problem with fugitive locations. A lot of them have changed, which I don't mind.
Yeah,
I don't mind going. Like my friend who does film locations, he's like, "Oh, it's so different. Doesn't look the same." I'm like, "Well, it's still the same place. That's kind of what people want to see. How does it look today?"
yeah,
So it doesn't bother me when somebody looked at. The only problem, like fugitive locations, a few of them are downtown Chicago, which it's not as doing filming locations. If somebody's with me and waits in my car, then I can jump out and do them. But anytime you're doing downtown stuff in any city, say Atlanta, LA, New
yeah,
York, it's
sure.
never Toronto, Chicago. It's
Right,
never easy because you gotta have somebody with you because otherwise you're parking illegally and you're driving, so they can wait in your
right.
car, you jump out. But Chicago is definitely one of my favorite cities to film in. I've done a lot there.
Can you give us a sneak peek of what you're doing in LA?
Yeah. Well, I'm meeting up with a bunch of friends there that live there. So you're gonna see some special guests with other YouTube channels that you
Mhm.
may have seen before, which maybe not. You can see some celebrities that I've got coming that I know and that have agreed to be on the channel. That should be
Right.
good. Then a group of you younger, not younger, they're my age, start YouTubers and Instagrammers. We're starting out, that I've known for a while. We're all gonna
Hmm.
meet up and hang out for a few days. And then I'm really gonna concentrate on some big projects that I've always put off because because I did a West Memphis 3 video recently. I
Hmm.
don't know if you saw it was about the West Memphis 3 in West Memphis, Arkansas, and I filmed that over the course of almost 2 years. And by the time when I put it up finally a week ago or two, it's no, like 3 weeks ago, I was just like, I hope people watch this because it just took me a long time. And it's at
Yeah.
100,000 now, so I'm happy. So there's a few big topic ones like that in LA that I've always been like, well, if I'm gonna tackle this, it's gonna take me 3 days to film one video. I'll throw in,
Sure.
I'll stop at other, I know LA very well, so I can be like, okay, if I'm near there, I'll go here and film another video while I'm filming one location. So there's about 3 big topic ones
Right.
that I'm gonna do. That I don't know if other people have done them, but some new celebrities have been buried out there that I haven't been to yet. I've got a lot of music stuff coming and just more of the same from my channel, but I like tackling these big ones like West Memphis 3 and
Right.
that take a long time to film, and there's 2 or 3 in LA that you know I'm gonna finally do. I'm gonna finally get to do, and then I'm just gonna it's not a vacation, it's work when I'm there, and
Yeah.
uh, I can't. Uh, if I get everything I want in the first 2 weeks, then the last week I'm there when everybody I know is there, I'll be a lot more relaxed. I'll be like, okay, I can just film a little bit today, film a little bit because otherwise I put too much pressure on myself to try to do film too much at the end. And but yeah, I've got some great ideas and more of the same.
So you
More of the
do
same.
you do when you go on your trips, do you have an agenda everywhere you go?
Do I have which?
You do have an agenda when you go wherever it is you go to do your videos.
Oh yeah. I think of my what I used to do is I thought of one big video. Like if I'm going to say Texas, I thought when I went to Texas uh January 2020, just before COVID.
Yeah.
When I went to Texas, first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to do James Byrd, who was the African American man who was murdered by the two white supremacist redneck dudes in
Right.
Taylor, Texas. I wanted to do his story because it was heartbreaking. And then I wanted to do BTK, the serial killer in
Okay.
what's we call it? Oklahoma. No, sorry, Kansas. And then I was like, well, okay, so that's Texas, that's there. That's not too far. Then I thought, well, I have to do Friday the 13th, the reboot, which is in Austin, Texas. So I
Yeah.
had 3 ideas. Those are my first 3 ideas. And I was like, okay, what else is in Austin? Dazed and Confused, Office Space, but a bunch of. Then what else is near Taylor, Texas? Oh, Blind Willie Johnson. Then that takes me over to Houston. Reality Bites. That takes me to Dallas. What's in Dallas? Oh my God, JFK. Da 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 da. What
Yeah.
if I'm driving from Kansas to Texas? What's in Oklahoma? Oklahoma City bombing. Tammy Faye Baker's buried there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it could
Yeah,
be all
for
over
sure.
like blah 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 blah. And so on this last trip, I just came back from. I still got tons of videos to put up from it. I was like, I got to do a sequel about my moving to Florida video. If I'm driving through Tennessee, if I'm driving through Tennessee, Nashville, and then across Memphis, I'm gonna stop and see Lisa Marie, you
Yeah.
know. So I was like, well, then there's 2 big videos already. And I thought of a couple of other ones that I always want to do, and then I just put together a route in my head. And Jerry Lee Lewis was another big one because he's
That was
really
a
far up.
that was a good one.
Thank you. It's really difficult to get to his grave. So I just come up. I have to have at least 4 or 5 big ones that will take me and then find stuff around there. So like right now, I've got where is it? This is a rough list of my LA trip, right? I can't really see it, but
No.
if you see, so there's about 30 videos so far I've got scheduled to film there.
Wow.
Will I get to the goal? I hope so. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
I
But the
look
good
forward to
thing,
seeing everything you do, my friend.
thanks, I appreciate it.
Everything you do, I'll keep watching everything. I don't think I'll ever. Well, I'm hoping to be able to watch everything that's on your channel. But there's a
Yeah,
lot.
there's 900 videos now or something, so good luck. I mean, I hope you can.
Yeah.
I'm gonna upload a lot in the next 2 weeks because I just have so many. So I'm gonna, as soon as we finish here, I'm going straight to editing. Well, I'm gonna take my dog up, then I'm gonna come straight back to this room and get back to editing. I have no choice and I love it. So I got a lot of work ahead of me, but that's what as you're starting out a YouTube channel, you're gonna learn. Like it doesn't end.
I,
There's no punching out at 5 and saying that's it. It's nonstop. But it's
I
fun and it's rewarding.
I really appreciate you joining me. I really, really do. It
Yeah.
means a lot that someone who's doing what I'm hoping to aspire to one day.
If you have
Um,
any questions, just message me again. Email, you have my email. That's probably better than Instagram now. But
for sure.
good luck with your channel, man. And what I just told another YouTuber friend of mine yesterday is a small channel. I still consider myself a small channel. There's many people much larger than me. But I'm talking about somebody who's just starting out like yourself. You can't get frustrated. You can't give up. You can't look at other channels and be like, why are they getting views and I'm not? Why, like, what? Don't compare yourself to other people.
No,
Keep your head down, blinders on, do what you love, and keep doing it. And if you stop uploading, then I have no more advice for you because you're screwed. You have to keep going.
if I ever
Even
learn
if
how
you
to edit,
don't
I'll be
get money.
dangerous.
Pardon?
If I ever learn how to edit properly, I'll be dangerous.
I'm sure your editing is great. It's easy. Once
I
you
don't
try,
I don't edit at all. So I
well,
like,
just keep. You'll figure it out.
yeah,
But just keep uploading because and tag your videos properly in the
okay.
tagging section of YouTube and description. Fill it out as much as you can, and
Because that's what comes up in the searches, right?
exactly. And nobody's really. I don't think too many people out there searching Scott on tape, but my name comes up with a lot of videos because I do so many different subjects. Put Scott on tape in your hashtag so it'll show up with my videos.
Sure.
Don't get frustrated because I thought I didn't understand. I didn't have any clue what I was doing when I started. And then a couple of videos blew up and I was like, oh man, I don't know what to do now. So you just
Yeah,
kind of learn it. But you can't, the biggest thing I always tell you is you can't get frustrated and say, well, I'm not going to upload for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Because if you don't, YouTube just forgets about you.
right. Well, I'm not going to stop. I don't know.
Yeah.
There might be a bit of time between uploads, but I
Yeah.
will definitely keep doing it.
You can always, don't forget, I mean, I'll shoot it's another. You can always make a video of you just talking about one band.
Yep.
Loverboy, Loverboy, the history of Spirit of the West. There's a video, even if you don't have an interview that week, put up a video of you and they're talking, talk about your love affair spiel. It doesn't matter. It's got to be, as long as you love what you do, people, as long as you love what you do, people will find you. Like people will find, if you have a passion for what you're doing, people will find you.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate the advice. And
No
again,
problem.
I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
Anytime.
It was really nice of you to do that. And maybe we can do this again.
Yeah, for sure. When I'm back from LA, just hit me up. We'll talk again.
All right. Thanks a lot, Scott. Have a good evening,
Okay,
sir.
man. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.